We know one thing the Niners are going to do this offseason, and that's replace Brandon Aiyuk. What's up? Good afternoon. Welcome to Cohn and Krueger. That's Larry Krueger. I'm Grant Cohn, and we're going to be solving all the 49ers problems today as we do once a week, every week. And big problem number one is Brandon Aiyuk. They found a way around his absence all season, but against the Seahawks, when you watch the coach's film, it's so obvious that they're lacking him or someone who could be a legit number one receiver who can threaten the defense at all three levels. So they could trade for Jordan Addison, although, he gets arrested about once a year. Not ideal, but they could do that. I had another thought. When they got Aiyuk in the first place, they were replacing Emmanuel Sanders. They had the 31st pick in the draft. They traded that pick plus a fourth and a fifth to move up 6 selections to 25 and take Brandon Aiyuk. You know the draft better than me. Do you think there's a distinct possibility the Niners could do something similar this year, move up 5, 6, 7 spots for a wide receiver?
Who do you want to move up for? Do you have a guy that you like?
I'm looking, Jordan Tyson, Arizona State, or Denzel Boston, Washington. The Niners have drafted wide receivers from both those places.
Those guys are probably going to go in the top 20. That means they'd have to move up at least 7 spots.
Okay.
I think wide receiver is a major need. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's the 49ers first round need. I think they probably need to go in the trenches or somewhere else. But they may even have to go with a veteran. Rookie receivers hardly ever step into the NFL and do anything. And if they do anything, they hardly ever are great, so it takes a while for a rookie receiver generally to step in because there's the layer of complexity on the NFL compared to the college game is hugely different for receivers. So I kind of like the veteran angles more, at least to solve the problem. I think I would look towards guys who have played in the league. I really liked your idea of Jordan Addison. I know he's not necessarily a great guy as far as some of the problems he's had off the field, but I think he makes a lot of sense. I really do. And I kind of think when I was looking at the wide receiver list, Jordan Addison, Alec Pierce as a free agent, Romeo Doubs as a free agent, Wan'Dale Robinson as a free agent, Barrows threw out Xavier Legette from Carolina.
He's awful.
He has been awful, but he is big and fast. A.J. Brown is definitely available. Today, Coach Yak threw out Drake London for Mac Jones and a third. He's not a burner, but he is a very good receiver. I think I would try to go veteran route. I think I would try to get Jordan Addison. I think I would try to sign Romeo Doubs.
Only problem with that is that trying to get cheaper, you're trying to get younger, you're trying to get faster, and you're already spending on Kittle and McCaffrey and Trent and Brock. You could sign a veteran, although if the Niners do that, I feel like they're going to sign Jawan Jennings. Let's be honest. The reason I think they might do this is because if they trade for Jordan Addison, one, there's the legal issue, but also he's going to be up for an extension next year if they want to give him an extension. I think the Niners need as many guys on rookie deals as possible. So the fact that they traded up for Aiyuk in the first place when it comes to replacing Aiyuk, we know they've done it in the past. They have a pipeline from Arizona State. I don't know if they can get up high enough to get Jordan Tyson, but that one seems like something they would do. Not something they should do. I'm with you. I think they should go trenches, but they haven't gone trenches in round one since Mike McGlinchey, and I think they still regret that.
Well, it's funny. At 4:00, there's going to be the East-West Shrine game, and I was just looking at the rosters to see who's in that game. There's a Georgia receiver named Dylan Bell who kind of reminds me a little bit of Debo, who's in that game tonight at 4:00, and I'm going to watch that and see what he looks like. But I like Jeremy Bernard from Alabama. I'm an A&M fan. I like KC Concepcion. He's got I think he'll go to Indy and run a great 40. I like Chris Bell from Louisville, but he tore his ACL and he may not be ready at the beginning of training camp. Some of the different websites I've seen said Zachariah Branch, who's a burner from Georgia, but he's little. He's 5'11", 5'10", and he's skinny, 175 pounds. But he's a home run, machine. Deion Burks from Oklahoma is another guy. Shanahan said it. He's like, we were noticeably slower. And Grant, I'll tell you, I think people get the most overdone thing are these people, and I don't want to start pointing fingers, but and I used to scout, I used to coach. I watched the All 22. I watch it every week, but I think there's too much emphasis put on like, oh, the film, from people who don't really know what they're watching a lot of times.
Right.
All I will say though, if you're ever going to watch a film and be like, wow, go watch Niners Seahawks playoff game. The Niner receivers got absolutely zero separation against the Seahawks defensive backs the entire game. I mean, it was pretty amazing to watch. I've never seen receivers glued or corners glued to receivers and safeties glued to receivers like Seattle was to the Niners. There was no room at all. No room at all. So they got to find some guys who can separate. And whoever they get, it's got to be somebody that is ready to roll in 2026.
And like, even if they were to go get Jordan Addison, to me, he's not really a one-to-one replacement for Brandon Aiyuk, because when Brandon Aiyuk was in his prime in 2023, that's a number one wide receiver who can line up at X, beat the jam, win down the field or intermediate or short, and is a good blocker.
Yeah.
And he was a critically essential blocker to this team. That's what they're looking for. And Jordan Addison can do a lot of that. He can get open at three levels. He's not a blocker. He's kind of small. Him and Ricky Pearsall as the two starting wide receivers are two receivers who can't block. Tell me about Jordan Tyson and Denzel Boston. I know nothing about them.
Well, I mean, they're big. Tyson's very smooth in and out of his breaks, but he's thin, and he's not a big guy. He's 6'1", about 195 pounds, but he's very, very liquid. He's very smooth, very a lot like Jordan Addison, very slithery, hard to stay with him. He's almost like a basketball player. He's got real slithery moves. Denzel Boston's big. He's more like Drake London. He's 6'3", 210 pounds roughly. He'll high point the ball. He's got a big catch radius. Both these guys, though, played in the Pac-12.
Is he like a better Juwan Jennings?
Oh, he's way faster. I mean, I don't know what he's going to run, but he's not going to run 4.7.
That might be a nice replacement for Jennings. You could pair him with Ricky.
I mean, to me, Carnell Tate is spectacular. I mean, everybody talked about the freshman there, and the freshman's great. Smith, Jeremiah, whatever. But Carnell Tate is, I think, going to be a star. I love Carnell Tate. I think he's really, really good.
Can they trade up high enough to get him?
I mean, yeah. I mean, he's probably going to go, I would say, between 10 and 15. So, yeah. I mean, if you have Mac Jones. And like if the Jets, I mean, I saw a mock yesterday where Daniel Jeremiah, I think, had Carnell Tate going to the Jets with their second first-round pick, which is the Colts pick. I think it's 16. If Mac Jones wants to start and the Jets are going to need a quarterback, could you trade your first-round pick and Mac Jones to the Jets for the 16th pick and then take Carnell Tate? I mean, I'd sign off on that for sure. But the more I look at these receivers, the more I'm thinking, you know what? There's four of them. Tyson, Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon's really special for SC. He's kind of like Amon-Ra, really. He's very similar to Amon-Ra, great player. Denzel Boston. Those guys are all going to go in the top 20, depending on how everybody runs at the combine. Chris Bell from Louisville is probably like a TO type. I mean, he's big and physical and fast, and he's the guy that I really, really liked, but he tore, I think, his ACL, and I think he's probably going to be either a redshirt year or he's not going to be ready until the middle of the year. So he's not necessarily a fit. And then once you get down the list, the sleeper guy is this guy, Ted Hurst from Georgia State, who's going to, I'm not sure if he's in this game. I think he's in the Senior Bowl next weekend. So Ted Hurst.
Larry, I love that you're going into sleepers and stuff, but this is Kyle, man. He won't even play Jordan Watkins.
I know, but
if you're not drafted in the top 45 picks as a wide receiver, it's over for you. It's over for you. So again, I appreciate your homework. You do a great job, but this is Kyle we're talking about. If he's replacing Aiyuk, he took one swing on Ricky. It's not Ricky. Ricky might be a good number 2 if he can stay healthy, but you know what they're going to do. It's going to be they're taking a wide receiver in round 1, Larry. Deep down in your heart, you know they will.
I'll tell you what I fear. I fear the return of Debo. Because when you look at the Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch and the way they went about maneuvering this summer, every time they had an injury, they went to somebody they had previously had. Yep. I wonder if the Niners even have a functioning personnel department top to bottom, or if it really is just Kyle Shanahan just kind of winging it. Because he seems like he wants guys that he knows, that he likes, that he remembers. I mean, look at it. They went to Kendrick Bourne over Brandon Cooks. Cooks is exactly what they needed, a veteran receiver who could go still run down the field, but they know Bourne, and Bourne knew Mac, and we had Bourne here. So I don't think they looked beyond Bourne. They should have gone with Cooks, but there was no previous experience there. So I'm a little kind of skeptical as to the scope that they have. But I will say this. I realize that name, Ted Hurst, is a name that nobody knows, and it's a little deep, but it's a deep pull. And the kid plays at Georgia State. But, I mean, Jerry Rice played at Mississippi Valley State. I'm not saying that this guy's Jerry Rice, but I see small school guys every year that I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. This guy is super special. And I don't know where he came from. I don't know how he got to Georgia State. I don't know where he's going to go in this draft. But Ted Hurst in the second round might be the better play than to try to trade up for a round one guy.
If the 49ers want to trade up, the team that I think is really intriguing as a trade partner is Minnesota, because they're at 18, and that's a good spot. It's not that far up. You could probably get from 27 to 18 with the third round pick or Mac Jones. And I don't know what the Vikings. I feel very confident they're not just going to go into next season with JJ McCarthy and some weak backup and say we're fine here, because I think that GM's job is on the line. Every game that Sam Darnold wins, his seat gets hotter. I wouldn't be surprised if they can't land some Joe Burrow type, that they try to get Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones would be really good on that team. And if the Niners could use Mac Jones to move up from 27 to 18 and get a receiver that they think is as good as Brandon Aiyuk or better, I could see him doing that.
Well, you might be able to get Jordan Addison in that deal too.
Right.
I think the price tag on Addison is going to be really low, because of his off-field problems, because of his, as you said, they denied the 5th-year option, I believe, on him. They're probably not going to sign him to a contract extension. I bet you could get Mac Jones for that pick and Addison. I bet you could get them both. And I'll say this, the Niners are going to need something that provides numbers, because they need numbers of linebackers.
You could throw Ricky in the deal too. If their starting wide receivers are Jordan Addison and Jordan Tyson, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I've heard people say, Greg Papa was saying, the Niners love Ricky. Not from what I was told.
Yeah,
I was told that Ricky is going to be traded, and that Renardo's likely to be traded as well. Now, the Niners obviously are not going to come out and say that. It hurts their trade value immediately. So it's not a shocker that we haven't heard anything official, but just put that one away, because I mean, I didn't seek this out. I was just in the press box talking to some Niner people, and somebody came over and spun that to me. So, I mean,
Can I just say something though? The Niners are famous for talking a big game and then doing nothing. That's true. Like, I heard last year that the Niners were having conversation. What I heard last year is that Brock Purdy came in at $55 million a year. He said, "This is what I want," and he never budged. And the Niners, known for playing hardball, actually called up Tennessee and said, "Would you like Brock?" And they were like, "Yeah, we like Brock. We like Brock. We would give you a second-round pick for Brock." But then they wanted Cam Ward more. And the Niners, of course, wanted Brock. And they gave him everything, single penny that he wanted, minus like $1 million or $2 million a year. That's what I heard. So, look, I'm with you on that. But the Niners aren't as tough as they seem. Unless your name is Brandon. Then they will ruin your life. Sorry.
Well, I mean, and I heard Papa say today, he's talking about Jennings' contract, and he's like, if he wants $24 million, I'm like, $24 million? What? I wouldn't give that guy $20 million, let alone $24 million. I think I'm cutting it off at about 16. To me,
give that money to an offensive lineman, please.
2 years, $32 million. You want more than that? Goodbye. I'll say this. The other thing that the more I watched the 49er, I did my own review, and I watched a bunch of bunch of film, bunch of games that I wanted to see and bits and pieces, and looked at the roster. I'll tell you, even though the Niners invent new needs. Like, they didn't need a kicker, and then suddenly here's Jake Moody, and it was like they had Robbie Gould, and suddenly it's like, oh no, we need a kicker, and we're going to invest a 3rd-round pick in him. I kind of think the 49ers are going to be looking for their John Lynch. And I'm not talking about a general manager. I'm talking about a big-time safety who's going to run that secondary. Dylan Thieneman from Oregon, Caleb Downs, like you're talking about trading up in round 1. Caleb Downs is an awesome player for Ohio State. This AJ Halsey from LSU. There's a jumbo corner named Emmanuel McNeil Warren from Toledo. All these guys are going in the first, couple rounds. But I know they need a corner. I know people look at them and say, oh, they don't need a safety. They've got, Mustafa, they've got Brown, they've got Siegel. But I think they're looking for somebody to run that secondary. And it wouldn't surprise me if they went big on a Downs or a Thieneman or one of those other guys. Quick shout out, this segment is sponsored by Fanatics Live. Fanatics Live is a mobile app where you can jump into live sports card rips and breaks with hosts walking you through everything in real time, even if you're new to collecting. There are two main ways to use it. Instant rips let you buy a pack on screen, watch it get ripped live, and every pack is a real professionally graded card inside. Once it hits, the card goes straight into your collection where you can keep it, sell it for credit, or have it shipped to your house. You can also join breaks where you can buy a team spot instead of a whole box. And if your team hits when they open it live, those cards are yours. If you want to try it out, new users get a free instant rips pack with a graded card inside. Just click the link in the description, download Fanatics Live, and join your first stream. It's fun. It's a fun, easy way to get into sports cards and experience the hobby live. What do we get there? Who is that? Ooh, cool. Looks like we got a signed, autographed Isaiah Likely card. Underrated tight end. Like that. Nice little get.
All right. So we're looking at the all 22, and it's bad. They scored 6 points. It's embarrassing that they scored no touchdowns in 2 games against the Seahawks. And when you watch the tape, you see receivers not getting open. You see Brock Purdy having no time to throw, and you see no run game. So if you could pinpoint the number one thing the Niners have to give Brock Purdy this offseason to help him be as successful as possible, what would that one thing be?
Interior offensive line. Because I was talking to some of the Seattle people who are really close to McDonald and some of the people that, some of the media people up there that are really connected to McDonald. And supposedly he was telling people off the record after the game that they had a real basic plan. It was like, hey, let's just take away Brock's first read on every play, make him survey the field, and then their offensive line won't be able to hold up. And sure enough, it happened.
Interesting.
So Brendel, goodbye. I know he's in the last year of his deal. I'm going to move him on 1 year early. And I think Burford is probably going to get a deal that is going to shock people. I think Burford's going to get because he's got a good body. He's basically healthy.
Hopefully not from the Niners.
Not from the Niners. I think the Niners will not give him that, but I think somebody's going to offer him a Jalen Moore type contract. Sure. And he's going to want, now not a Jalen Moore deal because he's a tackle and this guy's a guard, but I do think Burford's going to price himself out. So I think they, you said one guy, I'll give you 2, left guard and center. They have to upgrade the interior of their offensive line. I think it's absolutely essential. Tyler Linderbaum would be a really, really, the Niners used to spend big money for centers. They did for Weston Richburg. They did for Alex Mack. And then Brendel allowed them to do it cheaper, and they leaned into it, but it's over. They can't do that anymore. And to me, there's a couple guys in this draft. Keelan Rutledge from Georgia Tech, just a brawler, and he's fantastic. And then the big kid from Penn State, Olavavega Ione, who's like 6'3", 350. They got to get a mauler up front. You cannot give away the A gap and the entire interior to Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams and expect to compete. If you can't run the ball for a yard up the middle, it's game over. So, to me, it starts right there. You gotta improve the interior of the O-line.
Yeah, it's so critical for Brock because to me, what makes Brock so interesting and what makes Brock is that he really will try to execute Kyle Shanahan's scheme like to the letter. Like if Kyle wants him to do a full field progression, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 from the right to the left, then that's what Brock's going to do. And I don't understand how you could really expect any quarterback to execute that with this offensive line. When he has time, when he goes up against a defense that's not that great and doesn't have a great pass rush, he looks like the best quarterback in the freaking world. He can survey the whole field. He's not just taking 6 and 7 yards. He's getting 15 and 20 yards and scoring touchdowns. He's great. But against Seattle, he never has time. And if the first read isn't open, he's not just going to reflexively check it down. He's going to go to the second read and the third read and the fourth read. And usually you got to watch Kurt Warner's breakdown of the Niners offense that came out last week. Usually the check down is the fifth read in the progression, which is not fair. And I feel like with Jimmy and maybe with Mac, those are guys who were from New England who were never coached that way. And I think they get to their check down a lot quicker and helps them have a quick passing game. That's not who Brock Purdy is. It's not who he wants to be. If you want Brock to be Brock and hold the ball and get big plays, then give him a freaking offensive line. I think he needs that way more than he needs, Drake London.
I mean, he's kind of proven that he can kind of do it with Tonjes, and he can kind of do it with guys that aren't great at receiver, but you can't fake that line anymore. I mean, that Stafford Rams Seattle game, I mean, Stafford did survey the field, and then he would hold it, and then a couple times he just dumped it in the flat to Kyron Williams as his safety valve, as the last option safety valve. And I'd like to see Christian in that role, but you got to give Brock. You got to build for Brock what Jalen Hurts had a year ago in Philly, a big, powerful line where you can run the ball and they can move people, and it's not, you got to build that fortress around Brock. He needs more dynamic weapons, but before that, you have to get him a big, strong guard and center to go with him. I heard Papa kind of saying negative things today about Pooney. I kind of wonder if somebody with the Niners kind of spilled that to him, like, hey, because Pooney's lack of strength in the last, this year at times was like kind of startling. I mean, he just got absolutely worked a couple times. Philadelphia just mauled him. There were a couple other teams that just absolutely kind of rolled him back on roller skates. So, I mean, I'm expecting him to be the one interior guy that stays. I mean, he's better than Burford and better than Brendel. So if Pooney's not good enough, then you're really naked inside. So, I mean, they've got to figure out they got to have two big bodyguards inside with some heft who can open run lanes and stop the bull rush.
I mean, you heard it straight from Larry. Kyle, the Seahawks are shutting you down because they understand your offense, your tendencies. They feel they can take away the first read, and that your offensive line isn't good enough to give Brock Purdy time to get through the rest. I mean, it's as simple as that. So there's only one way to counteract that, and that's with a new left guard, a new center. I don't think they need a new right guard. I like Pooney, but they might. I mean, they might need to draft someone to compete with them. And I know they extended Colton McKivitz, but he's nothing more than average at right tackle. He's okay.
Right. I mean, Colton had tackles are hard to get, right? I mean, really hard to get. If you're going to invest in a tackle, you're probably going to have to for sure do it in the first round. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't do it, but I think this is the year that you have so many other needs, and you've got Colton and Trent. I would definitely go for a tackle in this draft. My favorite tackle, Grant, there's a kid in this draft named J.C. Davis who went to McClymonds, and then he went to, I think, DVC, and then transferred to Illinois. And he's a terrific athlete. He's tough as hell, long arms. J.C. Davis from McClymonds. He's projected like 4th, 5th round. He's going to be a mid-round guy. He almost came out last year, decided to go back to Illinois. Illinois has got a really good O-line coach. He's well coached. He's tough. That's the guy I like as a day 3 tackle.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you this.
J.C. Davis.
This is the question. If you guys were listening to KMBR this morning, as I always do, Murph asked, Larry was on, and Murph said, hey, Larry, Sam Darnold's in the Super Bowl. Brock's not. Did the Niners keep the wrong quarterback? And Larry, who has good timing, said, great question, Grant. So I'm thinking, I got Larry today. I got Larry later in the afternoon. It is a great question. Larry, I already know your answer, but I'm gonna take you through this and prod you a little bit because I love this question. Did the Niners keep the wrong quarterback?
See, I don't think so. I don't think Sam Darnold's all that. I really don't. Now he had a very good game, but if you go back and look at that game, I mean, Sam Darnold doesn't see it. Sam Darnold doesn't have secondary movement. He got away with he's got a great defense and a really good running back and the best wide receiver in the game. But, there were several throws where it's like the guy's open, and now here comes Sam with the laser. And it's like and he still just doesn't make the anticipatory throw. Now, it may not matter, right? He's one win away from the Super Bowl, and I think he's probably going to get it. I'll be rooting for New England, but I think Seattle's probably going to win that game. But he still doesn't. It's not natural. It's like he doesn't have secondary movement ability, so he's just a pocket passer. If you honestly ask me, I think Mac Jones is a better player than Sam Darnold. I really do. Because I think Mac Jones is more accurate than Sam Darnold. I think he throws with more anticipation. I think he sees coverage better. I think he knows where to go with the ball. He's more decisive. Sam is a better athlete with a better arm. But even in this game against the Rams, he was late. He was behind guys. He was late. But he's got such a great number one receiver and such a great run game and defense that it may not matter. I know people thought, oh, he was awesome. Yeah, that's a box score analysis. If you actually went through that thing and rolled that tape back and forth, what you'd see is JSN in the clear, 1 tick, 2 tick. Now here comes the ball. And it was late. He was like waiting for it. Like, Sam, come on. So I still think Sam is a little clunky. And I still think he's going to be a guy who's going to turn the ball over. And I think they made the right decision. But I also think that Sam found himself in San Francisco largely because he worked with Purdy and his preparation is way better because of it.
Okay, you had a good answer. Here's why I disagree, though. Here's why I think they kept the wrong quarterback. And it's not because I think Sam is better than Brock. I think when Brock is rolling, he's really good. I don't think he's elite, but I think he's really good and better than Darnold in a lot of ways. Problem is, you're paying a lot more for Brock than the Seahawks are paying for Darnold. And when you're spending $53 million a year on a quarterback, you need a few things from him. One, you kind of need him to be elite. I mean, if you're giving a guy elite money, he kind of needs to give you elite play. But let's say he doesn't. Let's say he merely gives you very, very good play, which is Brock Purdy most of the time. He needs to stay healthy. And Brock Purdy hasn't. And I think what we see with Darnold is like, at least hasn't missed a game in 2 years. And you look at the quarterbacks that are in the Super Bowl right now, it's a guy on that, mid-priced veteran contract and a guy on a rookie contract. It's just, if you're spending that much money on a quarterback, you gotta be so good at drafting. And the Niners aren't. And if they had committed themselves to Darnold, they would have given themselves more wiggle room like they had a few years ago. So now I feel like they're kind of in that same group as like Green Bay, Philly, Dallas, Detroit, and Jacksonville, where you're spending a ton on a quarterback and you might be able to catch teams that aren't, but it's going to be because of just some incredible drafts. And I don't know that the Niners can do it. So they do have a good quarterback and he's better than Darnold, but at what cost, I guess?
I think it's fair. I think it's a fair observation, but we don't have to go back too far in history to find a $55 million or $53 million quarterback who didn't have great stature and still won the Super Bowl. His name was Jalen Hurts, and it was last year.
Hell yeah.
So right. I kind of think really what you're talking about, Grant,
what do they have?
A great Howie Roseman.
They have a great GM.
Yeah, but I mean, then I like John Lynch, and I'm not going to sit here on this stream and be like, fire John Lynch. I'm not saying that. I'm really not saying that because I think John Lynch has brought this organization tremendous value, and he's made some good decisions. But Howie Roseman, John Lynch was a star football player. Then John Lynch was a star announcer. Howie Roseman wasn't a star football player. Howie Roseman wasn't a star announcer. How many people that you know in life are truly awesome at 3 different careers? So, I mean, it would not take any shine off John Lynch to say that he's a good but not great personnel guy. And he's in a division with Les Snead and John Schneider, who are great. And he's in a conference that has Howie Roseman, who's great. So I think the 49ers, I hate to say it, they got to do better at the draft. And you can't, the Trey Lance thing killed them. The picks in the 3rd round, they've effed up 10 picks alone in the 3rd round in this regime. I mean, that they had 6 3rd-round picks in the 2 drafts after the Lance trade, and they went 0 for 6. I mean, Danny Gray, Ty Davis Price. That's why they're at where they're at. If they go 3 for 6, they got 3 more day 2 picks on their roster. They're a whole lot better. They went 0 for 6. So I mean, if it was me and if I owned this team, I would say, John, I love you. You bring us tremendous value, and I love you at the top of the masthead, and I love you as a let's you make sure our analytics department gets heard and our scouts get heard and our coaches get heard, and you're the guy who can kind of be the puppeteer. But you can't shortcut. They got to have that super scout, awesome personnel guy. Elliot Wolf is the Pats GM. He's a pipsqueak. He's a tiny little guy who looks like, he would be sitting, in some class and in college. He's not a big guy, but Ron Wolf was his dad. Football personnel's his life. They got to find a football personnel lifer and who's a great star, somebody's director of college scouting, make him the GM.
Preferably Jewish.
Take away Kyle Shanahan's personnel control. Take away John's personnel control. Let them have contributions, but let a guy who's really a scout and only a scout make those calls. Hey, we always make fun of Trent Baalke. Trent Baalke drafted DeForest Buckner. You drafted Solomon Thomas. That's a huge difference. And they were basically both in the top 10. I think Buckner went third and Thomas went third and Buckner went like 7. You got to get, I hate to say it, the Trent Baalke of the world, but you got to find a scout who's got, who's not a Renaissance man. I don't want Sir Thomas More. I don't want some guy who can do it all. I want a guy who's who's got zits and sits in a dark room but can look at 5 guys that are all 6'5" and 280 and say that guy's going to Canton and that guy's a plumber. And you have to have that kind of conviction. And the draft is about identifying false favorites. Every one of these guys is great on paper. You got to be able to say, no, that guy's going to fail because of this. That guy's going to fail because of that. And I know that would make Shanahan mad, but I would try it. If I was Jed, I would throw Shanahan more money. I'd throw Lynch more money. I'd say, guys, I don't want to tear this thing down, but I want to have a super scout that leads us personnel wise, and I'll compensate you extra to allow this to, so this is easy for you. But we're not missing on 18 picks in the first 3 rounds like they've done in the last 9 drafts.
I think it's interesting. I feel like the Niners made up their mind to keep Purdy as their franchise quarterback when he went to the Super Bowl. And I mean, that was it. He lost. It was okay. He came back the next year. He had 6 wins. It was okay. And then he got $53 million a year. I wonder if Darnold will be in the same situation. If he loses to the Patriots, comes back next year and wins 6 games, will the Seahawks give him $53 million a year? I'm going to ask it a different way. If he wins and comes back next year and wins another 13, 14 games and has another deep playoff run, will they give him $50+ million a year? I'm not sure that they will, because what makes their team so good partly is that they're not spending a lot on a quarterback. And while he's good, we know he's not elite. It'll be interesting to see what Seattle does long-term at the quarterback position, because it's working with Darnold now, but I don't know that he's so good that they would necessarily, upend their entire roster salary structure to make him feel special. I don't know. We'll see. That might be a thing of the past.
Yeah, it's an interesting point because, it's funny. I talked to a number of Seattle people in the last few years, and their claim was that when they had Russell Wilson on the rookie deal, that's when they were fantastic. But once they had to pay Russell, then they didn't have enough money to keep their team intact, and the talent eroded.
He had to cook, and he couldn't.
Right. So, I mean, I do understand what you're saying. I mean, heck, if I'm spending $53 million on my quarterback and you're spending $33 million on your quarterback, you have $20 million to spread around your roster. $20 million can buy you a lot of good players.
Marcus Lawrence,
Shaheed. But at the same time, the goal is to win. And if your guy wins on any high level, eventually you're going to be paying him in that top tier in the 50 million range. I think what it just basically makes it so you better be good. You better be efficient in how you put this thing together. You don't have an ability to miss as much as the Niners have missed if you're going to pay your quarterback $53 million. So is the answer not paying your quarterback $53 million, or is the answer get a personnel guy who doesn't miss as often? I would say the quarterbacks are harder to find.
The Vikings tried to play it cool, and they were like, "We don't need the quarterback, man. We could go cheap." And it's like, everyone's getting fired if you don't fix this right now. So it's scary, but at the same time, just giving a bunch of money to a quarterback who's good but not great makes you the Green Bay Packers. Because, I mean, look, Brock might end up being elite. Look at Green Bay. Jordan Love won't. He's good, not great. They're paying him way too much money. And now they have to like draft Matthew Golden. And if it works out, great, but it didn't. And they're like, okay, well, it's a first round exit every year, but at least you got there. I mean, is that what you want to be? I think you don't want to be the Packers. I think you want to be better than the Packers. So Brock needs to be better. He needs to be healthy.
It's also one of these things where it's a really hard position to play. Like, it wasn't that long ago that people were boldly saying that C.J. Stroud was on a totally different plateau than Brock Purdy, and I think people would still make that argument today, except the other way. So
right.
It's a lot of it is you got to figure out. It's you're going to adjust to your quarter. The league's going to adjust to your quarterback. How does he readjust? It's hard to. Some guys establish themselves right away. Some guys, it's a little bit more topsy-turvy.
True. Propa says, why are the Ravens even letting Linderbaum test free agency? If he's really good, if he's a really good 25-year-old center, why wouldn't you extend him? Am I missing something? Well, coaching change.
He's a short-armed guy that, different regime, same regime, but different coach. I don't think they're going to let him go. I think they're going to make a big play to re-sign him. I mean, he's the premier center in the game right now.
Front row Dro says, what do you think about CMC in the Debo role and draft a running back early?
Got to do it.
I want to see Jordan James. I like Jordan James' tape. I feel like I liked his 6 carries in the playoffs. He looks like I think he's got a little power and explosion.
Well, first of all, the Jordan James effort on the Shaheed return was pathetic. I mean, he was the first guy down there, and then he showed no interest at all. He looked like a sports car that couldn't handle. He got down there. He was 3 feet to the left or 3 yards away from Shaheed, and then he just kind of just showed no interest at all and just kind of ran by him. So that was terrible. Now, I'm also nervous about a guy who looks pretty good in July and then looks pretty good in January, but in between, what did he look like? So I like him on the team. I like him a whole lot more than like a Garendo or something like that. I think he's an NFL back, but there's no way I'm coming back next year with him as the number 2. They've got to find themselves a really good running back and utilize Christian Moore as a safety valve, receiver, jack of all trades.
I like Jordan James. He reminds me of Blake Corum. That's my comparison for how he runs the ball. Yeah, give him a freaking chance. And the fact that he didn't play as a rookie doesn't do anything for me. That's Kyle. He must not have like memorized his offense quickly enough, or he was hurt during installation in August, and that's it. But if he could stay healthy through the offseason this year, I wouldn't be surprised if he forces his way on the field. He really looked explosive and effective in that limited opportunity. Bay Area says, I want to see monsters on the O-line. Yeah, simple as that. Come on. I mean, in 2019, they had first-round pick at left tackle, first-round pick at left guard, second-round pick at center, and first-round pick at right tackle. Try that.
And I think Firster, by the way, is a good coach. I don't think Firster is the problem. I have a couple people who said, get rid of Firster. No, I don't think Firster is the problem. I think the lack of an injection of any kind of real talent on that line for years. I mean, they've just said, we'll just put it together with bubble gum and baling wire, and we'll just make it all happen. No, you're eventually going to have to make a real investment into your offensive line.
They drafted Dominic Pooney in round 3, and they're like, oh my God, what a specimen. It's like, yeah, compared to the other offensive linemen you've been drafting for the last 10 years. I mean, nothing against Dominic Pooney, but it's a 3rd-round pick. You could get someone even more gifted. Sucker Free says, Grant and Larry, what are your thoughts on the Niners stealing Tariq Woolen from Seattle and having him opposite of Demo? Also, do you think Jair Brown gets traded and Luter gets cut next season?
I think this is a lot has to do with Gus Bradley. If Gus Bradley is going to be the coordinator, and I think there's reason to believe that Cleveland's going to hire Jim Schwartz as their head coach, and then it's going to come down to Bradley or Raheem Morris, and it sounds like they're leaning towards Bradley. Bradley loves big corners. He was the reason that Dallas Flowers was in camp with the Niners. He loved Luter when I talked to him this summer. He put together Brandon Browner and Richard Sherman. I'll go further than that. I think the Niners will go after Tariq Woolen if Bradley is their guy. Woolen is immature. He's young. He's made some mistakes, but man, he played better in the second half of the year. and he's 6'4". They need a stronger corner against the run to set the edge. They miss Emmanuel Mosley. I mean, I know that sounds crazy, but they missed how violent he was in the run game. I think Tariq Woolen, if Bradley's the coordinator, I think Tariq Woolen's going to be a Niner next year.
Maybe. I don't think so. As long as Brock Purdy's making what he's making, I think the Niners' salary structure is to have one high-priced player at every position group. D-line, linebacker, secondary. You already have one in each one, and then all those guys on offense. I'm sure they'd love Tariq Woolen, but it's expensive. You'd have two expensive cornerbacks. You could. I would be surprised.
I'm not sure what his price tag is going to be. That's the only question. He's not going to be the highest rated corner in the free agent market, but you're right. He's a free agent.
Damn near 20.
Paid a lot.
Yeah,
big and young.
Do. Corey Coleman, the redhead redemption. Hey man, I do like Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold's a good story in the sense that he crashed and burned in front of the whole country and took it like a man and didn't complain and really embraced being humble and rebuilding himself. And now, I mean, he's not elite, but he reminds me a lot of Alex Smith and what he's become. He's a little cautious. He's big and gifted, but seems like a good guy, good teammate. Everyone likes him. Probably a little bit better than Alex Smith was. I like Sam Darnold.
He's got better talent than Alex Smith.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Smith wasn't the number one pick in the draft. He messed up his shoulder and never really had much of an arm after that. Darnold has a freaking cannon.
I mean, here's the thing with Darnold. He was captain turnover. Guess what he hasn't done in the playoffs this year? He hasn't turned it over.
Give him credit.
Turned it over.
Yeah.
Best record in the NFL, by the way, last 2 years, 30-7.
Pardon?
He's
led the NFL.
Sam record has got he's 30-7 as a starter the last 2 years. Best record in the NFL.
It's incredible. I mean, to me, it sounds ridiculous, but let's compare him to Steve Young for a second, because he's not Steve Young. But with Steve Young, you kind of have to throw out his whole career before 1989. You know what I mean? Like, all those years was like, yeah, it happened. But if you wrote him off because he struggled in Tampa or wasn't playing with the Niners, then you missed it, because once he finally learned an offense and, was fully integrated into it, he was great. And it seems like with Darnold, he was not really like being taught an NFL offense for the first 5 years of his career. When he got to the Niners, he finally learned a system. And since then, he seems like he's been steadily improving and showing the promise that got him drafted so high.
It's the biggest story that we haven't talked about, really, is that the 49ers discovered, reclamation project quarterback Sam Darnold. He signed a 1-year deal, walked away. They did it again with Mac Jones, but they signed him to a 2-year deal, and now they're going to get great compensation for him, most likely. I think that one of the, if you go look at the Hall of Fame quarterbacks, I think there's 23 quarterbacks or whatever in the Hall of Fame. Almost to a man, these guys were no good at 23, 24, 25, 26. Most of these guys got good later, 27 or later. Staubach, Bradshaw, all these guys. I mean, almost every great quarterback that's in the Hall of Fame was not good early. So what's the lesson? The lesson is keep investing in the reclamation project quarterback. Reclamation project quarterbacks are going to sprint over to you because of Darnold and Jones. So if Zach Wilson comes knocking, go sign him. Go sign him. Keep because this is and sign him to a 2-year deal, demand a 2-year deal, and then have that asset to keep trading away every year. And I think that should be the 49ers. If the Niners have any advantage, it used to be Eddie D. We'll spend more than everybody else. Now it's capped. You can't do that. What's the Niners' advantage? They don't really have one, except that they are now the number one home for reclamation project quarterbacks. So bring in Zach Wilson or another reclamation project quarterback, make it happen, and turn that guy into another second-round pick. And I think, to me, that's how they should go forward, as trying to build and trying to catch up to these teams that have passed them by roster-wise.
To me, if any team can pull off what Minnesota tried to pull off last year and failed, which is just like play quarterback roulette, It's the Niners. And the only reason they don't realize that or they forgot it is because they whiffed so hard on Trey Lance. They never need to do that again. You're the guy that brings in Darnold. You bring in Mac Jones after they've failed on one or two teams. That's what you do, and you do it better than anyone else. The Colts did a good job with Daniel Jones, but the Niners could have done the same exact thing with him.
Yep.
And if it doesn't work out with Brock Purdy on this big contract, and it may. If it doesn't, and Kyle is still the quarterback and you're 15 or whatever, I'd like him to maybe try this because, again, look at the two teams in the Super Bowl. They're not spending a ton on their quarterback position. They may eventually, but they're not right now.
We're not that far away from Green Bay. Maybe thinking Malik Willis is better than their starter.
Same situation.
I would go for Anthony Richardson. He's 6'5", he's 240. He's obviously been awful. Put him in this situation and build his value and trade him next year to a quarterback needy team for a second-round pick.
Kilo TW says Kyle and John's lack of concern for the O-line has to be studied. Like, why do they neglect it so much? Is it the scheme? It's strange because the Rams don't neglect it. The Seahawks don't neglect it. They have the same scheme. It feels very like Kyle Shanahan specific.
Well, I've heard them talk about it, and they're like, hey, look at the teams that draft offensive linemen early. They're back up in the top of the draft the next year because offensive linemen take a while to develop. Yeah, not the Seahawks. The Seahawks found Gray Zabel. They plugged him in.
Great pick.
He was awesome. He is awesome.
Charles Cross was a good pick.
Yes. I mean, you know what's really amazing about the Seahawks? They were down and out and probably done. And in one draft, John Schneider found Abraham Lucas, his starting right tackle, and Charles Cross, his starting left tackle. In one draft, they found bookend tackles.
It's a good GM. To a man, the great says Gainwell is a free agent. He has the best name of a running back in the history of running backs. Gainwell, just for his name alone. Yes.
I like that, by the way. He's gutty. That'll be a good one. That'd be a good veteran to get.
Yeah. Brock Purdy the Great says, I live in a treehouse, Grant. I'm better than you. Hey, there you go. How do you know I don't? How do you know I don't? Let me ask you this. Who do you think the best choice is to replace Robert Saleh? Do you think it's Gus? I know you're cool with the Gus Bradley hire. If you had your pick of anyone, who would you take?
Ooh, anybody?
Anyone that's like realistically available.
Oh, so like I can't go D'Amico or anything.
No D'Amico.
Okay.
But you could go McDermott, Schwartz, Raheem Morris.
I probably would go with Schwartz. I think I'd go with Schwartz just from the standpoint of he's a proven wide nine guy. I think their wide nine definitely needs some adjustments. I don't think he runs the exact same wide nine, but I want to keep. Here's my thing, Grant. I want to keep Kasarik. I like Kasarik, and I believe in Kasarik, and I think even though the Niners don't have a lot of talent on their front, I thought by the end of the year, every single guy on their front line was playing the best that they could play. And that's really all you can ask out of the coach. So I want to keep Kasarik. So I want to keep some continuity. And that's why I like Gus Bradley, because he represents continuity. I'll say this. I don't understand why people are pointing to, well, look at Gus Bradley's passer rating or pass defense rankings with the Chargers and with the Raiders and with the Colts. These teams didn't have great talent. Robert Saleh, the year before Nick Bosa showed up, was going to be run out of town on a rail. People hated him. He suddenly got Nick Bosa, and all of a sudden it was like, hey, Robert Saleh's pretty good. So you got to have players. And then you look at what Gus Bradley did this year. They said, Gus, you're in charge of the red zone. And they were 14th in the red zone. They were 24th outside the red zone. So is Gus better than Saleh? I don't know. But then there's the other thing. We get a chance to go in the locker room and talk to the players. And, man, I talked to several players, including Gus, but I also got a chance to talk to several players who swore that Gus made them smarter and better players. And this is not this is not one of those group powwow things where, they're talking to the masses. This is just like me and my YouTube channel, just like in the corner of the room. Hey, Demo, what do you think of Gus? Gus is an OG. He taught me this and this and this and this. So I don't know. I think Gus is totally fine. I'm not saying that Raheem Morris and Schwartz wouldn't be great. I think they'd be fine as well. But for continuity purposes, Raheem and Schwartz have to come in and kind of watch film for a month. Gus lived it. He doesn't have to watch film. He knows what they got.
I think the reason people are down on Gus Bradley, he's just been around forever. Like we've all seen Gus Bradley. Even in 2009 to 2012 in Seattle, like it wasn't a complex defense, it was vanilla. And then since then, Chargers, Raiders, Colts, like he's been a DC for 4 different teams. And every time he's a DC, his defense is characterized by vanilla schemes, rushing 4, playing cover 3, maybe now he'll play cover 4, but he's not going to bring pressure and he's really as good as his defensive line. And there's a reason why he's been bouncing around. There's a reason why no team wanted him to be their defensive coordinator last year. Is he bad? I don't know that he's bad, but I'd rather have Jim Schwartz. And in addition, I would rather have Sean McDermott. I think Sean McDermott's a hell of a coach. I think he probably got screwed over in Buffalo. I mean, you give the GM more power and promote the offensive coordinator like it was all his fault. I think he's a hell of a defensive coach, and he'd probably be one and done. But I'd rather have a really good coach who's one and done, a la Robert Saleh, than some guy who might be around for a while or might be one and done in a bad way, a la Nick Sorensen, who was also quite popular with the players. I mean, you're going to be popular with the players until you start losing games and not making adjustments. And I think that's kind of why he got fired from Indy and the Raiders and the Chargers. But I don't know, maybe having Nick Bosa will change things.
Lou Anarumo is another name that I really like. I think Anarumo is a really good coach. I mean, he's gotten it done. I mean, Indy's defense, I thought, played pretty well. I mean, I'll say this.
Him a new one.
If you watch the Niners in Philly, like I was sitting in the corner of the end zone and I'm looking at this, I'm on the binoculars, I'm honed in on the inside the tackle box, and I'm looking at the Niners defense, and it was Kalia Davis and Jordan Elliott and Wallow and Kendricks and Samo and Cleve Farrell, and I'm sitting there going, what the hell? I mean, this isn't it. The problem with the Niners is on the defensive side is they were schemed up fine this year. They had no talent. And by the end, it was awful. So I personally, they need to upgrade their talent no matter who they get. But I'd be fine with any of the guys I don't think there's a bad choice there, I guess, is my thought.
I guess what scares me though is just like the Nick Sorensen experience, and Bradley's not Nick Sorensen. Nick Sorensen hadn't really.
Nick Sorensen had never been a DC.
That defense had Bosa and Warner and Lenore, and it sucked. It was awful. So it can be like the DC is very important, and Saleh did a hell of a job. As he did a great job this year without Bosa largely and without Fred Warner. So this is a very important hire, and maybe Gus Bradley's the right guy. But I just want to point out that Raheem Morris is also available, and he's a really good defensive coordinator. He was the DC for the Rams when they won the Super Bowl. He's a Super Bowl champion. And he may run a slightly different scheme, but that's okay. Evolving is fine. It's something they might want to consider.
The biggest issue that I see for the 49ers on defense is that they used to have the best linebacking core in football, and they now have the worst. They used to have the fastest linebackers in football. Now they're slow as hell. If you look at Seattle's defense, man, their second-level defenders were just Drake Thomas, he can fly. Yeah, Nicky Manwari, he can fly. You got to have second-level speed. They don't have it right now.
The Real Lyrics Media says, KJ Wright's kid is in my son's class. He chaperoned today, and I told him he'll be the next D'Amico Ryans. I do think that the 49ers feel that. And he's clearly not ready because he's still a quality control coach, and D'Amico went through, being a linebacker coach first. But if they were to make Gus Bradley a defensive coordinator, which I think they will, he coached KJ Wright. There's a whole continuity thing there, and it might be that Gus Bradley would only be the guy for a year or 2 or 3 until KJ's ready. Something to think about. I just don't understand why Kyle is so married to the Pete Carroll system, dude. Like, Seattle doesn't run that anymore. No one runs it anymore. Why? It's been 10 years.
Well, even that, they don't even do the Niners don't even run that anymore. I mean, Shanahan talked about this about a month ago about the evolution where when they first came in, that it was, a lot of cover 3. Yeah, but
you still want coaches from that tree, though. You still want coaches from that tree.
But I mean, what they're doing from 17 to 19 was one thing. From 19 to the present, it's been different. But I think the KJ Wright thing is really interesting. When I coached in the Canadian League, that was my job. I was the defensive quality control coach. So I know that's the low man on the totem pole. I mean, you're the lowest guy there is outside of special teams, like Ronald Blair, technically, with the special teams quality control. But that means you're a new coach, right? And I think if this were 3 years down the line, they'd probably just hire KJ Wright. But I think you might see Gus Bradley for 2 years and then KJ Wright for the next 5 years, and then that's
probably the
probably
plan.
that's probably the plan. Yeah.
That's probably the plan. Justin says Emmanuel McNeil Warren could be our Eamon Warren.
Yeah. Toledo. I was just talking about him earlier. He's a rangy, big safety who can fly. They need big time players across the board on defense, and this guy's a difference maker. He really is. I would consider drafting this guy. We got to see what he works out like, but if he runs well, that's a guy that I would consider using the first round pick on.
It does seem like that big nickel spot is becoming a critical position in today's NFL because no one wants to be in base defense. So, yeah, I could see that my thing with Upton Stout, good player, but you draft him in round 3 and he can only play one position. Like Devin Witherspoon can play in the slot, but he can also play outside. You don't want Upton Stout playing outside, and that really limits what you can do as opposed to what the Seahawks can do with Witherspoon. That's my only thing.
Upton Stout is freaking amazing, but he's 5'8", and there's limits when you're 5'8". Now, I think he's really good, but I mean, it'd be nice if the 49ers had their version of Nick Emanwari, somebody who's really big, really fast, can close a lot of space in a hurry.
They put Jason Pinnock at that spot. Like, no, that's not the same.
No, he's gone.
That's like telling me you got Big Macs at home. Like, no, that's not a Big Mac. That's terrible.
The Eddie Murphy.
Yeah. No, I don't want that.
You want big chunks of onion in there?
We got to shout out today's sponsor, Mint Mobile. Now that the holidays are over, you might be feeling like you've got a big spending hangover. The drinks, the holiday food, the gifts, it all adds up. Luckily, Mint Mobile is here to help. It's here to help you cut back on overspending on wireless this January with 50% off unlimited premium wireless. Mint Mobile's end-of-year sale is still going on, but only until the end of the month. Cut out big wireless's bloated plans and unnecessary monthly charges with 50% off 3, 6, or 12 months of unlimited. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with your existing contacts. This January, quit overspending on wireless with 50% off unlimited premium wireless. Plans start at $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Cohn. That's mintmobile.com/COHN. Limited time offer. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, and $180 for 12 months. Plan is required of $15 a month equivalent, taxes and fees extra, initial plan term only. More than 50 gigabytes, may slow when network is busy, capable device required, availability, speed, and coverage varies. See Mint Mobile for details. All right, I got another thing about Robert Saleh. He's in Tennessee. He hired Brian Daboll to be his offensive coordinator. Daboll could still go to the Raiders or somewhere else to be the head coach, but assuming he doesn't, I think it's interesting that Saleh chose an offensive coordinator who's not from the Shanahan and McVay tree. And D'Amico recently did the same thing. He fired Bobby Slowick last year and brought in Nick something or other from the Patriots. And they still suck on offense. They still suck. But I think it's interesting that these two defensive guys who are defensive gurus and know that system as well as anyone are moving away from it. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I thought the Daboll thing was interesting. I think, Daboll, I think, really wanted that Buffalo job. And as soon as it went to Joe Brady, he was like, all right, I'll take a coordinator job. He's thought to be a guy that had a lot of, impact on Josh Allen's early development. And so maybe Saleh's seeing the same thing with Cam Ward. Hey, you know what? If Daboll can develop Josh Allen, if Daboll can help develop Jackson Dart, maybe he could do that with Cam Ward. I think, if you're Robert Saleh, the number one thing on your list is, since this is not your area, is to find an offensive coach that you think can develop your franchise quarterback, because you've already invested the first pick in the draft on that kid, and he has to work out. So I think it's really just a statement that Daboll's done it before, and this is the job, this is what's needed, and he thinks he can do it. I'm not sure if it's a statement like, I don't like Kyle's scheme. I think he's looking for a quarterback developer, somebody who can develop that kid quick.
It seems like what he's not as concerned about is the scheme. I mean, the scheme is great, but it seems like it helps a guy like Mac Jones or Sam Darnold, who's been in the league and just hasn't been exposed to those concepts. Like Cam Ward needs development, and the Shanahan McVay tree doesn't necessarily specialize in that. Whereas Dayball's had some success with that. So I could understand. I mean, if your whole second stint as a head coach depends on the development of one player, maybe bringing a guy who with some track record. I mean, it's not Bobby Slowick. Bobby Slowick's never developed a quarterback, but Dayball has. So that makes sense to me. It may not be a scheme thing.
I'll say it shows a lot of it shows a lot of confidence too by Saleh because, and I think he wants to project confidence. You know, if you hire a coach that's a nobody, everybody's like, "Oh, the head coach is insecure." But if you hire a coach that coached in New York and had a lot of success as an offensive coordinator, it says that you're confident in your job. And Robert's got a 5-year deal, so he should be confident.
And they probably know each other considering they were in the same building in New Jersey.
Yeah, there's probably some relationship there. But I think it really has everything to do with Cam.
Last thing. This kind of made me laugh. Kind of sad. Clay Kubiak was getting little interest to be a head coach. The Pittsburgh Steelers gave him an interview. Another team may have as well. And I heard he took his name out. He doesn't want to do it, which to me indicates that maybe he wasn't so impressive. And it's not that I don't want the job. It's not that I didn't get the job. It's that I didn't want it. It seems like it's going to be hard for him to get a head coaching job if he's not calling plays. I know McDaniel did it, but he didn't work out. Who wants the next McDaniel? McDaniel didn't even get another head coaching job. So to me, my question is, do you think the Niners should let Clay Kubiak call plays? Or do you think they should let him leave for an offensive coordinator job that does let him call plays? Or you signed a contract, sorry, buddy.
See, I think Shanahan would say he does call plays. He doesn't call all the plays, but he's part of
he calls
play calling.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of the same problem that Eric Bieniemy had in Kansas City when he worked under Andy Reid. It was like nobody really believed that Bieniemy had any significant role in the scheme or the play calling because Reid's right there. It's the reason that Matt Nagy, I think, has struggled to get another opportunity because I think everybody views him as he was a lieutenant under Reid. It's like, well, if you can hire Reid, great, but Nagy, no. Bieniemy, no. I think it actually ties a little bit to Clint. If Clint winds up getting either the Raiders job or the Cardinals job or the Browns job and does well, I think you're going to see Clay be sought after a year from now.
Yeah, but I mean, with Clint, he was with the Niners and he wasn't the offensive coordinator. He was the pass game coordinator, which allowed him to leave and go to New Orleans and call plays and show what he could do, which led him to Seattle. And that was cool. That was generous of the 49ers to let him go. It seems like the Niners have made it pretty clear they're not going to let Clay Kubiak go. And I understand. I mean, they've lost so many assistant coaches. He's good. So let him call plays, man. Let him increase his all the plays. And that way, Kyle Shanahan can focus on, when to challenge a play, when to go for two, when to call a timeout, things he's historically not that great at. And apparently Clay's so good. His brother's good. Why not?
I think Clay's fully competent. I really do. But you know what? When you score 8.7 points per game in your 3 games against Seattle's defense, the rest of the league notices.
That's true.
Everybody noticed that Saleh was doing it with nothing, and that's why he got another job. But then I think Clay Kubiak, if the 49ers didn't look absolutely atrocious down the stretch offensively, then maybe he gets a gig. But I think he pulled himself out because once he found out McCarthy was getting the Steelers job, he's like, you know what? I don't want to go to the Raiders. I mean, look who's left. You got Raiders, Browns, Cardinals. None of those teams have ever really won anything. So, I mean, the Cardinals went to a Super Bowl. The Raiders haven't won in a long, long time. These are 3 of the worst organizations in pro football. So I think he was up for the Steelers, up for the Raiders. I think he might have still been involved in that Raider thing, but he didn't want any part of that. So I think he wants to stay where there's more stability, and he'll take his shot next year.
Here's my hot take. No coach is good at calling offensive plays and managing the game at the same time. It's damn near impossible. Maybe Bill Walsh could do it before my time. Even Andy Reid is better at calling the plays than managing the game. And if he didn't have one of, if not the greatest quarterbacks of all time, he wouldn't be a Super Bowl champion. He'd come close, but not get it. And I feel like there is something about calling offensive plays, not defensive plays, that requires 100% of your attention. You have to be planning the drive while the defense is on the field. You have to set things up and think 8, 9 plays ahead. Whereas defense, you can kind of be more in the moment. You can sort of react to what the offensive coach is calling. You don't necessarily have to plan a whole drive because it's not on you. And I don't know. Now I want George Seifert is basically what I'm saying. Let's get George Seifert to coach this team. He's not too old. I think he can do it. I think he can do it, Larry.
Look what Jim Harbaugh did. He just hired an offensive coordinator. I thought you were the offensive coordinator. I thut he was the offense, but he brought in Mike McDaniel.
He's just there to yell on the sidelines and make silly faces. He's good at that.
And pound people's shoulder pads, and as you said, decide if they want to go for it or punt. But yeah, I mean, Shanahan's strength as a football man is his ability to design plays, sequence them. You know, he's the true architect. He notices little things on the film that other coaches don't notice.
Agreed.
So that's his strength. So it's like if you take Kyle Shanahan, the play calling away from him, I don't even know that I really want Kyle Shanahan if I don't have the play caller.
I see what you mean. And that's to me like why I feel he's best suited to be an offensive coordinator. He's just so good at it that he won't be one ever again because he's graduated past it. But like if you could get a setup where he's the offensive coordinator and like McDermott's the head coach or Saleh's the head coach, I feel like that's a winning formula because then it's like, Kyle, don't even watch the defense, man. Just turn around and focus on putting your next drive together. It's cool. Saleh will figure out when to, punt or go for it on fourth.
I mean, to your point, Grant, look at the weekend that we just saw. Two of the most respected offensive coaches in the entire freaking league are Sean Payton and Sean McVay. And they both effed up badly.
They both effed up.
Sean Payton, did you not see the weather report? You didn't know that a snowstorm was coming? The rest of the nation knew it. I mean, it wasn't like just a local story. This was a nationwide.
And you're the home team.
You're the home team. Take the field goal to go up 2 scores to say that I got to get a touchdown here. That was stupid. And then McVay, dude, I mean, your defense gets turnovers. If you kick the first field goal, you get a turnover. You kick the second field goal, you win. And it's like, instead, it's like, no, we must get a touchdown. No, dude, kick the field goal, keep the momentum, keep playing. I thought both those guys. Now, did they make those mistakes because they're the play caller and there's too much on their plate? Possibly. We don't know, but it's interesting.
But I mean, I can't help but notice that the 2 coaches in the Super Bowl are both defensive coaches, and one of them freaking owns the Shanahan McVay tree right now. And it seems like offensive coaches have run the league for the last 10 years. Defensive coaches are just as smart. They're finally catching up, and it might be time where it feels like defense is kind of running the NFL right now, and the ball's back in the offensive play callers' court to evolve and find something new because Mike Macdonald's a problem.
No question. I mean, and more than Mike Macdonald, Kyle said it when I asked him about this defense a couple weeks ago. It's John Schneider has found the perfect pieces. Mm-hmm. Now, we'll see if they can keep it together, right? But Drake Thomas is a little tiny guy who played with the Raiders. He was good at NC State, but I mean, he's tiny. But you know what? In this defense, he covers tons of space. And then Eman Warri's a perfect fit, and Julian Love's a perfect fit. And then they trade. I'll say this too. I mean, not to bash on Lynch, but John Schneider beat John Lynch at the trade deadline this year, last year, and the year before. So I mean, they've picked up guys like Leonard Williams, like Julian Love, like Rashid Shaheed, difference-making kind of guys. And then they've kept those guys. I mean, the Niners have done it with Trent Williams and CMC, but I mean, that's all I wanted to see the Niners do at the trade deadline is not necessarily, leverage the future for the present, but just keep building. Yeah.
Rashid Shaheed was a perfect example of that kind of a trade. The Niners traded for Sky Moore before the season, and honestly, he was one of their better moves this year, but Rashid Shaheed is just a better player. Dimitrov says, very simple. Outside zone starts with the O-line. Get back to basics and get a badass O-line. The rest will fall in place. Well, we know what they won't do. Wi-Fi says Bill Belichick misses first ballot Hall of Fame. Did he?
Was that announced just now?
That's rough. Gizmo Maltese says we need a DC who knows how to blitz like Spags. If your defense is based on your front four, it's only only it's very vulnerable to injury.
Could they take Spags away if they made him the assistant head coach?
I don't think Spags wants to leave. They pay him so well. I wouldn't. I would imagine he
See,
wants
now
to
this
stay.
is the
Yeah,
area where if Eddie D, people talk Eddie D, Eddie D. This is the
he'd find
uncapped
a way.
area where Eddie D would spend his money.
Yep, because
Spend
he can.
more. Yeah.
It smells like foot in here. It says signing Addison solves the Ricky problem, not the Aiyuk problem. Addison is a very good number 2. He is not a number 1, and that's what they need. Okay, so they could trade Ricky at a pick for Addison, and each player could have like fresh start, and then maybe you could get another number 1 to replace Jennings. Possible.
Here's what I would. This is the call I'd make. I'd call Gladstone, that Jacksonville general manager who's like 15 years old, and I would call him and say, "Hey, Brian
DJ.
Thomas, give us Brian Thomas. We'll give you Pearsall. Give us Brian Thomas. If we got to throw a pick around to make it even, we'll do it. But Brian Thomas here, I think, could emerge as a number 1 receiver.
I kind of like that. He had some good games with Mac Jones. He certainly did.
He did.
All right. Well, that's our show. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for all the super chats. Larry, thank you very much. Make sure you go and subscribe to Larry's channel. Check him out on X and TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and all the places. Larry, great stuff.
Thanks, man. Good to see you.
Kobe Bean, real quick, says, should the Niners have traded up for Worthy instead of Pearsall? And what the hell happened to Isaiah Nayor? He wasn't good at football, apparently. And Isaiah Worthy isn't particularly either.
Yeah, I mean, Worthy is a go pattern guy only. He's not a. I mean, he's part of the reason that Kansas City's offense fell apart this year.
Yeah, big time. Larry, great stuff. And we'll talk soon.
We'll talk soon. Have a good one.
See you guys.